Earlier this week, I was sitting with a 30-something, very successful, career-oriented guy. And he was very clear that he wanted to retire in 20 years' time. So he wanted to be on the beach side, sipping some cola and watching the seas. That's his dream. And he was seeking advice from me as to how he can retire with the big number. He wanted to have 10 crores of corpus when he is ready to retire. That got me thinking about this whole idea of how to create a 10 crore corpus in 20 years' time. Now, while 10 crore may seem a big money, I don't think it will really be that large in a 20-year scheme of things. Given the way costs and inflation is going, it is going to be a reasonable number that one should look for to achieving. So the 10 crore has that significance. So many of us will want to hit that milestone in a 20-year span of time to ensure we have a secure retired life. So that's the first step. Now, how does one go about reaching the 10 crore mark? There are 12 points that we are going to see in today's episode. First up, ensuring that you tie up that 10 crore to a tangible goal that you have. In this particular case, the gentleman was very, very clear that he didn't want to compromise a certain lifestyle. So we worked on a certain basis of assumption of daily living. Plus, he felt that he wanted to have a passion for what he loved doing, which is traveling the world and seeing places. And he wanted a reasonably large corpus for that, so that after 50, every 3 months he can take off to see the world. And that was really the passion. That's what he is working really hard now to achieve. So both of these tied in, it's really a very clear approach of why he needed that money for his retirement. Second, the idea is to create a budget. Now you can achieve whatever you want, but you need to make sure you're able to contribute the money that is needed on a month-on-month basis. Towards that, this gentleman was starting to kind of have a plan in place. So we recommended he draw a very clear budget of what his inflows were and outflows were, so that that number which he needs to do on a month-on-month basis is budgeted, and he ensures that that money is invested on a month-on-month basis. Third, as part of the investment, we suggested that he create an emergency corpus for himself, which will be necessary if there is some distractions or disruptions in his earning spree to take care of paying in those times. So an emergency corpus is a very, very important part of exercise, so that he is not tempted to pull out the investment or disrupt his plan midway if there are disruptions in his earning or change of jobs or many of those things that happen normally. Fourth, the idea is to start early. So 20 years is a reasonable number of time, but you have to start as soon as possible and continue the course. 20 years is 240 months, month after month after month. So it's extremely important that somebody gets going ASAP to get the plan going. Next, you need to have the right mix. If you want some emergency fund, then some of your investments need to go into a little bit more safer investment, maybe a debt fund, maybe a liquid fund, while a larger portion of money goes to get you a much higher return over a longer period of time. So the investment mix must be something that one is comfortable. So one needs to spend time to determine the asset allocation of how much is going where. Next, it's extremely important when you're chasing a 20-year goal to take some risks. Equity is a great asset which fits beautifully with the long-term plan. Even if you're somebody who doesn't like the volatility that comes with equity, it's a great idea to marry equity with your investing portfolio, be it a mutual fund or even a stock. I would recommend a mutual fund. Equity over a 20-year period can give you the best of compounding that can happen, and therefore give you a reasonably larger corpus than you would otherwise manage. So equity is a great asset. Next, you must also ensure that periodically, and by periodically I mean at least once a year, you're able to bump up that number that you're investing. So if you start with, say, a 50,000 rupee investment, you must be able to increase it by 5,000 on a year-on-year basis at the very minimum. More the merrier, but at least on a 10% basis year-on-year. As your salary keeps growing, as inflation keeps going, your contribution to SIP must also keep increasing. You must, of course, look at reviewing your portfolio and rebalancing at various points in time. Markets aren't the same. The scheme that you started investing may not be doing all that well after a couple of years. It's a good idea to keep checking on how the performance is so that you may want to shift the portfolio around. Never take the money out, but you are always welcome to shift it from underperforming fund to a better performing fund. That's clearly allowed. Next, we believe a journey of this length needs a lot of discipline. One needs to avoid emotions infiltrating into your point. There will be times when markets will be high, there will be times when equity markets are low, your portfolio will look very poor at times, but keep the journey going. That's really the 1% difference that you will bring to the table. Only 1% of people out of 100 are able to control their emotions and continue their journey. We urge you to be that 1%. Believe me, at the end of the term, you would see returns come back to you, even if midway the journey is a very, very rocky one. Next, it's extremely important to make sure that you keep a certain amount of liquidity going on your portfolio. The emergency fund will play that role, but as and when you need to rebalance and make sure that your portfolio is a fair mix of equity and a little bit of liquidity-driven debt investment. Of course, it'll be great if you can marry your investing along with tax planning as well. With one stone, you get two birds, so to say. You get to cut your tax as well as you create a corpus in the longer term as well. And next, last but not the least, instead of trying to do lump sum investment at various points in times, SIP is the easiest route and sometimes a very, very simple solution, but not an easy one. But SIP continued without a break can help you create that big corpus that you're looking for. If you followed these 12 steps, believe me, at some point in time, your corpus will be 10 crores quite easily. All you need is that discipline of continuing to do it every month on month on month. 10 crores seems a big number, but in reality it is not. Now let me explain. If 10 crores in 20 years is the corpus that you're chasing, at a 5% inflation, it is equivalent for you having 3.76 crores today. And that, my friend, is not a lot of money. So I would urge you to start looking at 10 crores as a more reasonable number than you thinking it's a big number. Because, as I mentioned, inflation is kind of making money cheaper and cheaper. So to that extent, you will need to look at a bigger figure. So 10 crores is a very relevant figure. Like I said, 3.76 crores in today's day and age as a retirement corpus is not a big number at all. If you were to look at achieving 10 crores over a 20-year period, then you will need to look at systematic investment option. At different rates, the amount that you will need to do is different. The reason I'm talking about different rates is if you are willing to take a high risk on a small cap mutual fund, which is really a high risk mutual fund, then you may even generate a 15% return on that over a 20-year period. There, the amount you need to put away month on month is a reasonably smaller amount. Only 66,000 rupees every month will get you to reach 10 crores over a 20-year period. But if you choose to go with a lot more safer investment, say a hybrid product, which has a little bit of equity and a little bit of debt, as a result of which you are likely to generate not more than 10% return, then to achieve the same 10 crore corpus, you will need about 1.31 lakhs going into the investment on a month-on-month basis. So really the toss-up is, do I want to kind of take a little bit higher risk because I have a slightly longer period of time and therefore the risk plays out within that period of time, or do I want to play it safe? Playing it safe is definitely an option, but it's a much costlier option in terms of contributions as compared to taking a much higher risk. Having said that, even that 66,000, what we have mentioned, is not the sum you need to start with. You can even start with a much lower number. Say you start with a 40,000 number. And every year, if you're able to increase as per inflation, a 10% increase, over a 20-year period, if that average of that contributions falls within 65,000, you will still reach your 10 crore mark. So the truth is that as long as you stay consistent and you stay disciplined in making this contribution happen on a month-on-month basis, willing to take a slightly higher risk because you have 20 years to go, we believe that the 10 crore corpus is waiting for you at the other end of your disciplined journey.